you.
This is a call to order of the first regular meeting for October of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today is Tuesday, October 12th, 2021, and the time is 6:35 p.m. Secretary is not here, so I will call the roll. Sybil Allen. Albert Benahan.
Present.
Bobby Brown.
Present.
Sosimo Fabian. Joseph Lombard. Jessica Martinez. Joseph Sokolovic.
Present.
Chris Taylor.
Here.
And myself, John Weldon. We make 5, which makes a quorum. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd all stand, say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What's this? Oh, okay. Student representatives present. Oh, you already did this? Okay. Ruth Cruz? Hi. You are from Bassett. Okay. And from Fairchild Wheeler, we have Avery Flexner. Hi. And Michael Hemmings.
Not here.
He's not here? Okay. Harding High School, we have Osway Frazier.
Joshua.
Is it Joshua? They need to fix this. Charmaine Elliott. Okay. All right.
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Next on the agenda is public comments. There's no public comments to be had. Approval of board minutes. First one is September 27th, 2021, regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan, second by Ms. Brown. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Abstain, sir.
Mr. Taylor abstains. He was not present. September 27th, 2021, special meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Brown. Is there a second? Okay, Joe seconds. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Abstain.
Mr. Taylor abstains. I don't have anything to report. We're going to move on to committee reports and referrals. Ad hoc district-wide rebranding initiative.
No report. We meet next month.
Okay. Any referrals? Contracts Committee. We met, no, we did not meet. We did not meet. Any referrals? Educational Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. There's nobody here for that. Facilities. Facilities met last week. We received a report from the Director of Facilities Operations, George Garcia, on the efforts the department had taken to reopen schools. It was very impressive. Is there any referrals for facilities?
Yes, I have a referral, Mr. Chair. And like I said, and I know we're talking about security situation, and one of my refers from to our facility when Mr. Lieutenant Greg come and to speak with some situation about, they can talk about what's going on with safety, security, budget, training, the protocol, policy, SRO. So I would like to Mr. Greg, he'll be in charge of the security of Bridgeport School. They can give an update, some information the same way that Mr. Garcia did it for us in the last meeting, please.
Can you email me what you just read?
Yeah, of course. I will.
Finance.
Finance did not meet in the interim. The next meeting will be Wednesday. Oh wait, this Brown has a meeting on that day. So probably maybe move it to Tuesday, the 19th, after the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting. I could develop it on this.
Okay, any referrals? Okay, next is governance. Governance met this past Monday, or a week ago Monday, and they brought forward the 2 items we have on tonight's agenda one relating to the approval of a new student handbook, and the other first read of a policy regarding live streaming of board and committee meetings. Are there any referrals?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't know if it's the appropriate committee, but I've, from some constituents, as obviously I won't be running again or seeking another term, they asked that if we could modify the bylaws to include them to speak about anything related to Bridgeport Board of Education at a public meeting. I don't know if that's a governance issue or not.
Yeah, it is.
Then I'd like to put that on the agenda, that we can change that. It's very restrictive.
Okay.
And parents don't feel like they could come and voice what's going on in their school because it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
So, thank you, sir.
I agree.
Personnel? There was no personnel meeting. Any referrals for personnel? Students and families?
Student and family, we're gonna meet October 23rd, 2021 at 5 p.m. at the Central High School Library.
Okay. Any referrals for students and families? Teaching and learning?
Teaching and learning did not meet in the interim since our last meeting. Next meeting will be Tuesday, October 19th.
Okay. Any referrals? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Very brief, just an update. As you can see here in the room, it's an air purification systems have been installed in the boardroom here. Phase 1, all school cafeterias have been completed. Phase 2, 786 classrooms to date have been completed. 11 schools remain. Those remaining 11 schools will be completed by the start of next week. And then we will begin, as Mr. Garcia mentioned, Phase 3, all offices next week at the end. By the end of the month, we will have all offices, classrooms, cafeterias, and then some common areas, libraries, and other areas completed throughout the district for air purification purposes using ARPS funds. Last week, we held a Student Success Day. All students throughout the district worked on their student success plans. I will have an update at the next meeting of how many students actually completed their and began their student success plans from last week's Student Success Day. A couple of other items. October is Anti-Bullying Month. We will be celebrating Unity Day, October 20th. We're asking everyone to wear and share orange to prevent bullying, promote kindness, acceptance, and inclusion. So that would be October 20th. A couple of other items. We are currently working to update this district website. Today we held a meeting with the Blackboard, who handles and provides service to our website. So in the coming months, we'll be spending a lot of time and effort to make a more user-friendly website, especially for parents and students to be able to access information in a more condensed and efficient manner. So just on the lookout over the next couple of weeks, the website will change its look and we'll make it much more eye-catching, and part of the process is rebranding, and right up the alley of Ms. Brown's committee with branding. So we'll work in conjunction. We've already begun to talk to the new director of performing and visual arts, and she's working with a team of teachers on the logo. You're welcome. Couple of items that just need to be made aware of. We are having some issues, as is school districts across the country, with supply chain in certain items, and one of the impacts here in the Bridgeport Board of Education is food and nutrition. They're having a difficult time with getting product consistently. There's also been, because of a driver shortage, loss of vendors that are servicing Bridgeport Public Schools. So they're having a much more difficult time in planning monthly menus and being able to hold to those menus. So just to make people aware, They are working through it. There was a social media post last week of a food item at one of our high schools. That has been rectified. It was the first time that the USDA provided raw product that had to be cooked and not pre-cooked items. So my apologies to the students at Harding High School, and that is a problem that will not happen ever again at the school or any other school. And last but not least, I just want to bring your attention, we're just having some issues at athletic events, as are some of the other surrounding communities. We are looking, and we will be meeting over the next couple of weeks in just improving and beefing up safety and security at athletic events. We had an issue at a Central Bassick football game that was unfortunate. Mostly not caused by the students at either school, but students attending from other schools. So we are looking at some options. New Haven Public Schools recently implemented some processes and procedures that would prevent any outside students from other schools to come and cause issues at school events. Mr. Benhan was present yesterday at a soccer game. Again, there was some just alterations that we can make in our procedures to prevent from some of the actions that took place yesterday. Having fans at, on the field or on the field level rather than in the stands, and a few things that adults could have done differently to prevent some of the poor behavior that occurred yesterday at the soccer game. So just to inform those that we will be making some adjustments to protocols as we get into the rest of the football season and then into the basketball season, which sometimes becomes contentious when we have inter-city rivalry games. And other than that, I have nothing else to report today.
Okay. Are any questions for Mr. Testani? Mr. Benahan?
I know, like you said, Mr. Testani, yesterday in the Central High School, the soccer game lanes, I know the team, they did a good job. They worked very hard. I know, but before that, the week before, I don't know if you know, Bassett High School win in the Veteran Park, against Kobe High School. So, they win very good. And I know yesterday in Central High School, I know they lost, but I just want to, shut it down that guy. They did a good job. And I know after you see what happened, I hope, in the next time it's a little more professional, to behave and how to control the team, how the fans have to be on the side, so we don't have no issues. I know you was there with Lieutenant Greg and some staff, and the good thing is everything went well, the safety, and now you stay to the end, and I appreciate that you stayed to the end to be sure everything was clear and everybody was going home. So I appreciate that what you did yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Brown?
I don't have any questions, but maybe a suggestion. I know recently we lost a student at Central High School, and we appreciate your letter that you sent. In light of that, with the violence that has taken place within our community, especially around our young males, and just students in general, between the fights, between the gun violence, accidental or on purpose, I think our district already in the beginning of the school year has witnessed and has lost prior students and also students that are involved in behaviors that have put a lot of our students' lives at risk. I guess my question is, and even some of the high school students, you guys are aware of a lot that's happening because you guys are in the building. What could we do, not only just for the social emotional side of it, but also to continue to create safe spaces for our students within the district so that this number doesn't rise? And I don't know if you already are working on something, but it's a little depressing, and you guys probably will agree, it's depressing to see students lose classmates, and just from the year in itself with everything that's going on. I think it's something that we ought to listen to or entertain or have a conversation or roundtable, something, because it's hitting home to a lot of our students even more now with this whole COVID situation.
So that has been a topic today with student support staff leadership and building principals, especially at the high school, and we're going to plan some events to be able to address some of the behaviors that have been observed early on in the school year, as well as put an outreach of support line, of a line of support to students who may be struggling, and right now do not have either the courage or the, being new to the high schools, may not know who to reach out to. So we are in the planning stages. Again, today was another tragic day that a senseless act caused the loss of a life here in the Bridgeport schools. So.
Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Lieutenant, what we supposed to do something and try to plan what we can do for the student after school? I know before we have some sports stuff like that, but one of the point is if we trying to help other student after school, there can be some sport, people help them, listen to them, have something they can get busy. I know it has to be, they will be out more on the street, not be in the street like the way that you got my point. So I know we have, it's a process, but I know we can do something for all this Bridgeport school, have programs, and I know people that will help you and help us to be sure all this kid be in the street. After school, they be in another program. I let them, sport things, and I know that will help them a lot with that.
Right, so all schools are in the process of planning extended day programs. Not all of them entail sports. We know that we would like to incorporate the arts, music, and other opportunities for all students to have an opportunity to participate in after-school activities. So schools are in the process of submitting those applications for their extended day programs. We're also looking at, from a district perspective, an arts and music academy that will be roll out later on in the fall, available to all high school students who wish to participate right here. And it'll be hosted at Harding High School because of the new facility there, but students from all the schools will have transportation to and from, similar to what we have with the RCA program. This will give more opportunity for kids to participate that go to all our high schools.
I know it's a process. I know it's a process because not from one day to the other it's not going to be fit. But I know it's really good to start. I know high schools, but it starts from elementary school. So when they get to high school, this kid they enjoy more to be in art.
Right. All the schools are planning extended day programs. Every school, excuse me, in the district, including the high schools.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? How about you folks? Do you have any questions for Mr. Testani?
I do have a question. I'll yield to that.
Okay. I didn't see you.
I didn't.
Okay.
Didn't know it was the appropriate time.
Okay. Anything on what he said? Anything? No? Okay. Mr. Taylor.
I did notice one thing, and not to be vain, I noticed that when the superintendent speaks, the camera zooms into him. But when Mrs. Brown speaks, it doesn't zoom into her, or when I speak, it doesn't zoom into me. I think that's a little biased, not directed at the superintendent, but why is the highlight and the focus on the superintendent only and not any one of us who have campaigned and gotten elected? I just find it a little offensive.
I didn't see it. So.
I don't know how my colleagues feel about it, but I just watched Ms. Brown talk and the camera did not go to her. I just watched Mr. Benahan speak. The only time the camera zooms in is on the superintendent.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair. I don't know how my colleagues feel.
I can't see it.
I didn't realize it was happening.
I'm not casting stones. I'm just bringing it to my colleagues' attention.
Well, here's what I would say. Who's operating the IT?
Who's that?
Who's behind the curtain? Oh.
Dr. Oz.
If you would if you have the ability to zoom in on every speaker,
Just in fairness, I would appreciate it.
do that. If that's not a capability you have because of angles, I would say just leave it
That's,
to the,
if you want me to
yeah.
stop that, I'll stop that.
Yeah,
Please,
that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, that's with my colleagues. I
That's
just
fine.
don't think it's fair.
Okay, as long as we have an understanding.
Thank you.
Well,
This is like our second time doing
there's only
this.
a certain amount of preset locations we can put the camera.
Yeah.
That's why.
So then in that
I'll do it.
scenario, we just leave it like this, and that's that.
Yeah, that's it. Just don't do it.
All right,
Much better. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Taylor. Appreciate it.
there's no old business to conduct. We have new business, 4 items. First one is discussion possible approval of Fairchild Wheeler Campus Aero Hydrospace Field Trip to 2021 SNAME Maritime Convention. Mr. Lip.
And board members and Superintendent Tassani, I apologize for the tardiness of this. I've been negotiating with the Society of Naval Architects and Marine Engineers since August, trying to get the price down to something reasonable. They wanted all the students to be student members at $85 and $125 to attend. And I got it down to $50, which will cover the food and some of the activities we'll be doing. It's up in Providence, Rhode Island. It'll be a day trip. We'll leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, get back at 5. We bring in 10 students. I'm going to go myself as well as my teacher that teaches naval architecture. It's an ability to branch out to the universities and other companies up in the area. It's held annually. This is the closest it's been since one in New York about 12 years ago. So it's an opportunity for our students to see some of the industry and be able to do some networking.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Skalovic?
Yes, how were the 10 students selected and how many of them are Bridgeport residents versus outside residents coming?
I selected the 15 students, mostly seniors and juniors, based upon how well they had done in the naval architecture program and their interests, and touch base with the counselors. I have no idea. I don't look at those numbers, but roughly, one of our Board of Representative reps who's here, who's a Bridgeport resident, was one of the students selected to go. She's home studying for the SAT. I would say somewhere 60-40-ish range, but 60% of them being Bridgeport students. I don't have the exact numbers. Once I get all the permission slips in, I'm still collecting them. I can inform the board if you desire, sir.
Yeah, I just like going forward with all the trips, especially at our inter-district schools. I'd like to make sure it's like equitably distributed. Not to say that it won't be, but just something to keep an eye on in today's times. And another question, you said you're taking us, how many people does the bus seat?
The bus seats 14 people, including the driver. I'll be the driver. We have a 14-passenger school bus. Bringing a female, the teacher's a naval architect is a female staff member. So we'll have a male and female chaperone along with the students. The ratio is actually about 50-50 student, female to male students that have been selected. But it gives us the opportunity to do that and make sure everyone stays safe, sir.
And about how long is the drive?
Drives a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, that's worried about hooked up, but we can't get a regular school bus, like to spread out the kids a little more. That's not it.
We could.
Yeah, because I mean, the regular school
Mr.
buses.
Superintendent is campaigning right now. He wants to get reelected.
So,
Yeah, because when our students get on the bus, they normally go in the COVID protocols, they're going to school 10, 15 minutes on the bus tops. And buses are a little bigger, there's more space, but 10 students on a 12 people on a 14-student bus, that doesn't leave much time, much space. That doesn't need much air circulation. And people who fought to keep the schools closed for COVID should really understand the safety protocols of spreading the students out.
I can get a quote and look at the price of the bus. I'm trying to keep the cost down for everyone's interest.
we'll cover, the district will cover the cost of the.
Understand, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Albert.
Albert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to know about how everything, the process about the COVID-19, the kids have a vaccinate. You know, I don't want when they go, they come back and something happened. You have a plan about what's going on with the COVID-19 kids and the staff?
You mean the safety plan, sir?
Yeah, the safety
Yes,
plan
we have a
about
safety plan.
COVID-19, you know, all the stuff like on the mask, you know, the protocol, the policy, everything to go.
Absolutely. I actually have the Rhode Island State Police in my phone in case something, I'm planning this. It's very excited we're able to pull this off. If you guys approve this, it would be a real feather in the student's cap to get that exposure.
Thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Chairman, to just address Mr. Penny, he's a former naval submarine commander. He's top shelf, just so. I know everybody's concerned, but I believe that man is more than competent and his staff is more than competent to conduct this field trip in a safe environment for his students. I've met him personally. I've seen at school, top shelf. So,
Yeah, I understand, Mr. Taylor, but I just want to know because parents ask questions.
I understand.
So I just wanted the parents when maybe they ask questions.
What was it directed?
No, I'm not saying, but I'm just telling you, you know, what you told me. So to be sure the parents, they know how professional he is and have everything a safety plan for everyone.
Well, why don't we have him rattle off his curricular vitus real quick and you can impress
Okay.
everybody as it deserves to be impressed.
All right.
So if you would. Please, tell us your background. So they are blessed with the information that I was blessed with. They would feel secure and trusting their children on the way to the Naval Architectural Academy in Rhode Island.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. I'm very flattered. Now, I entered education in 2004 after 23 years in the naval submarine field. I'm a marine engineer by background. I was a member of the Society of American Naval Architects and Marine Engineers, and actually I got a scholarship for them while I was at the university, picked up about $5,000 of my tuition cost. I'm a very proponent to get this program up and running. I have a good partnership with Sikorsky. I have students doing internships there, paid internships, very lucrative, and they're getting employed by Sikorsky. I really don't have any connections right now with the marine industry, with the exception of Electric Boat, and they're not interested in our students doing summer internships yet. I'm hoping to get something a little bit closer and the exposure for our students to see the universities that have programs for them to be successful. I have 4 students right now studying those fields that are prior graduates.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to know. And we're very proud to have you in the district.
And
Appreciate
just to
that.
clarify the record, that wasn't flattery, it was respect.
Yeah, sir, I appreciate that. I appreciate the support of the board for my students and myself and for the programs we have here in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Student reps, do you have any questions about this? No? Okay, we're doing this because anytime a field trip out of state is proposed, the board needs to approve it. We don't typically approve every field trip, but because this is out of state, we need to step in a little. Yeah, yes. So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the FWC Aero Hydrospace field trip to the 2021 STAME Maritime Convention.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Benahan, second by Ms. Brown. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
great job. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion possible approval of new student handbook. Michael Testani.
As was discussed at the governance meeting last week, a lot of time and effort was placed into updating the student handbook. It had been several years. The majority of the work done around the handbook was updating the attendance protocols that now focus on chronic absenteeism and less on truancy. For a number of reasons. Number one is that state law has changed and students that have 20 unexcused absences are no longer referred to family court. Most of our multi-tiered student support is included in our restorative practices. And the major change was when offenses of discipline are doled out, there's now much more leeway given on the behalf of students, whereas in the old handbook, if a student committed X offense, they needed to be, because they must be suspended a certain number of days to the offense. The must language has all been changed to may, so that in an instance, for example, one student who may have a recurring discipline issue that doesn't seem to be rectified with certain supports may get a suspension for an offense. Another student may commit the same offense, but it's their first time, and administration will have a little bit more leeway in how they would provide restorative opportunities in that instance, rather than have to suspend the student. So it passed through the governance committee, and now we're looking for full approval so it can be implemented immediately through the 21-22 school year.
Okay, any questions? Yes, go ahead.
So you said you're going to redo the website, making the student handbook more easily accessible.
Yes.
On this would be great. I personally have no clue where it is.
It's hard for us to find it. So there will be an icon right across at the top of the fold, as they called it. I was educated on some of the terminology on the website design. That will stay student handbook.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Ms.
Um,
Brown?
Sorry. I wasn't at that meeting, but I don't know if this would delay it or whatnot, but does the students have a say in the handbook?
As the students have a say in the handbook. A lot of the stuff in the handbook is either statutory or, again, that's why we removed the word must. So every student will be treated in a restorative manner, not in a punitive manner.
So could I make a suggestion, if not this year, possibly whenever we revise it again, if this changes throughout the year, if we could have a component where students could have a say in the rules that they have to be governed by, because some of it, it may open up your eyes to something from a student's perspective at some of the things that are being created that are either going to reprimand them or reward them. It would be cool to just have them, be a part of it.
Sure.
Mr. Taylor, had your hand
I carry a flip phone, so technology is not my strong point. As the student had suggested, making accessible student, is it possible to get an app for their smartphone where they could just hit the smartphone if I'm using the proper verbiage, where it's an app, they can go right to the student handbook?
So one of the reasons for the new web design is to make the mobile version of it much more user-friendly. So this is what, with the new design of the website, the mobile version will be much more accessible to the icons that we're going to put.
Well, Superintendent, if I may, you and I are both in our 50s. You look much better than I do, so I'll yield to you. But as I don't know if they're millennials or younger, everything's an app. I mean, I just hear from my kids, oh, it doesn't have an app, I don't want to eat there. So would it be?
Well, the Bridgeport Board of Ed, it will be an app. And when they click on it,
they can download the app like Google Play or Instagram or whatever it is. I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn, but in regards to the young lady's suggestion and the rest of the student body, everything's an app. Am I wrong? Is that, you guys like apps? I mean, is that, app to me is appetizer. I mean, I like appetizers. I'm good. So that would just be my suggestion. If it's not a giant expense or inconvenience to our IT department, to have a downloadable app where they can have it on their phone, because most people have a phone, and be able to hit it and say, oh, okay, I can't do this, I could do that. And they're well-informed, and a well-informed student is a good student. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
And then hopping on that, even creating the BPS portal for the students, creating that as an app too, would be helpful. Unless it is already, I have no clue if it is or not. But just that whole portal for the students, having to log in each time, but having it as an app on your phone, that would save so much time.
Yeah, you should speak up now. You got
right.
Here.
The app makes life easier.
Is that something we can include already in the communications that we've already put out for the parents? Could that be something that piggybacks for the students?
Well,
so this way you don't have to recreate something brand new.
The Parent Square app will be for students and parents as we start to roll it out. So we are beginning phase 2 of the rollout.
Could that be on it? This way you don't have to recreate it?
I can ask how that information will be distributed. But as far as the what icons will go above the fold, we will be asking students what are the icons and parents that they utilize the most. In order to put those there, we do have about 6 to 8 choices we can put in addition to the drop downs. But we will also be making the drop downs a little bit more user friendly, not just a whole list of things when they click over it. It's expanding the width and the view of the website, because right now, if you look, there's a lot of wasted space. That was what triggered my frustration, especially during the COVID pandemic, and putting notifications that you had to do too much scrolling down. Now it'll be more scrolling across. So we're really going from an 8-year-old website to a state-of-the-art 2022 website.
And even if you wanted to get the students' involvement, since I'm IT school, this is the kind of stuff we're learning. So I'm sure we can also give advice on like what we're learning and how we can input stuff and even help out with the app or website making.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Scalaway?
Yeah, a couple questions. Like, was this posted to the website?
Not yet, it can't, it has to be approved.
Yeah, but we had said at the last meeting that we're going to put it up so that people could see it and have it, because we weren't going to really read through the whole thing. And also, was it part of the students' packet?
And everything's in the student's pack.
So they got, say, so y'all had a copy of this, okay.
Shanahan?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Sestani, look at this new student handbook, and I already had the time, I read the whole thing. And one of my, everything's important, but I would like to about the uniform policy. Doesn't mean it's gonna be, after we approve it, it's gonna be mandatory that we're gonna be follow the uniform policy for the schools. What's going on, in that situation.
The uniform policy hasn't changed.
I know.
If you're talking about the enforcement of the uniform policy, I mean, coming out of the COVID pandemic, I'm sure that there's other things that right now that the schools are more concerned with than the uniform policy itself. That is something that I would love to have a discussion around and having student input on that, because I think they would have a lot to say about how they would prefer to move forward and how they can dress for school.
Yeah, I agree.
From the roundtable discussions that I've had over the last couple of years with students, uniform policy as it stands is not something that they are in favor of. They all seem to be very much a proponent of a dress policy and not a uniform policy. But I can defer to my 4 young people over here who currently have to abide by it and see how their friends and classmates dress each and every day and, get their opinion here tonight. But I think that's a bigger conversation that would include maybe a survey to parents and a survey to students on what they would like to see or keep the current policy as is.
I ask you this because I know years back we had some issues, something in the school that another student come from other school to another school and you don't identify because of uniform, because they come regular, dress, Sometimes they don't dress the way they're supposed to be prepared to come to high school. So it's about safety to see what's cool and what's cool is the students. So I'm just worried about that. So, and like I always say, parents sometimes say about the uniform and stuff like that, but if they have money to buy the Pro 12 cell phone, iPhone costs a lot of money, I believe they can afford to buy, that's my opinion, to uniform. So I just want to bring it that for uniform policy for you.
Joshua, what would you like to say on this topic, sir?
I mean, honestly, being like in middle school, like a big part of like me going to school and all that was like making sure I have the proper uniform, like proper colors, all that. And like for me, it stressed me out. And like from like freshman year, like not having to like put on uniform, like it has no stress on me anymore. Like I'm not anxious about it, like pressing this, doing that. So like putting in like a uniform policy to me anyways, for like, especially for freshmen, will just like stress them out on top of everything that's already going on with, freshmen like being stressed out and stuff,
So you would be more in favor of a dress code rather than a uniform?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think having the students develop the dress code would be with some input on what is a little bit too far. But I think, I would trust what you guys would have to say and your classmates in terms of what would be most appropriate to wear to school.
So are we sending this back to committee?
No, this somehow turned into a side
Yeah,
discussion
I think that can
about
go to be
clothing.
an addendum later.
This is,
All right, so can we make a motion to,
adopt this.
yes, adopt this
Okay.
policy?
Made by Mr. Taylor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You got a new handbook. Next item is discussion and first read and discussion of policy regarding live streaming of board and committee meetings. This is something I put together because we started streaming during COVID, and then when we came back to in-person meeting, we continued to stream, but we didn't really have anything that put some parameters around it. I'll just read, it's a really short draft policy. Live streaming of meetings. All regular, special, and committee meetings will be live streamed. However, meetings called with 48 hours or less notice may not be live streamed due to staffing or other logistical difficulties. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, my objection, our live streaming is, on numerous occasions, when we live streamed, somebody had discretionary power to take our meetings down and off the website and off YouTube. that is not fair and equitable. When it was on CT 61 or whatever channel, I apologize, it couldn't be taken down. It was there. It was a permanent record. On more than one occasion, our meetings were taken down that were simulcast. I apologize, I don't know the proper term. If it's going to be live streamed, it should be live streamed. If the staff can't get here, get new staff. If we're going to represent the public, we need to represent the public in every meeting, not just selective meetings, not giving somebody an out because they don't want to be on the TV that night. If we're going to have a meeting and we are a public organization, I represent the people as in my 8 colleagues. If we're going to represent the people and we terminated the husband and wife that ran the camera that were here faithfully and dedicated servants to the Bridgeport Board of Education for years, and we're going to take on this new technology, which I'm all for, there has to be, it's got to be anytime we meet, unless it's executive session, and it cannot be taken down. It cannot be at the will of the chairman or the superintendent to remain file footage they personally, and I'm not saying you guys did it, may be happy with or someone else is not happy with. That's my objection to it. I don't mind the technology, as long as the camera distribution is equal and equitable to all people here. Thank you.
So I think the 48-hour issue came into play when some meetings were requested to be had on relatively short notice, and it was difficult to get the staff to be at the meeting. So there's 2 ways we could do it. I mean, you could say that, you know, no committee meeting will be called with less than 48 hours notice, or something else. I mean, I just don't want us to be in a position where, let's say there's some emergency and we have to have a special meeting and there's nobody from IT who's able to do it. I mean.
Well, Mr. Chair, just to clarify for Mr. Taylor, I think live streaming and recording and posting it, we are going to record all meetings and post them.
Mm-hmm.
The live streaming never occurred prior to the technology. The husband and wife were only recording and then posting later. So that would always occur.
If I may rebuttal, Mr. Chairman, through you, my concern is the ability to edit, discard. We represent a public office. If we're going to do this, let's do it and do it properly and be equitable to the Bridgeport residents and Bridgeport parents. I don't think it's proper protocol for this party to have access to the video footage after it's been shot and leave it subject to question, because people question integrity. So why create a problem that we don't need to have? We didn't have that problem when we had the husband and wife team doing a video on a cable network. It was not accessible to any one of us. So if we're going to take this, let's just stream it live. People can record it, do whatever, but not at the discretion of certain people to be able to put up, take down, edit, and so on and so forth. Not saying that anybody would, but I want to limit any doubt to people that are skeptical that live in Bridgeport.
So you're saying you don't want it necessarily recorded and posted. You just want it streamed, and people who are watching it, if they want to record it,
I
do
think
that.
we're on the same page. If we streamed it and and the general public has the ability to catch the raw footage as it's shot, and then we keep a backup file for later, I'm sure, but there can be no question from the public, oh, hey, they monkeyed with the tape, they altered the cassette. I just don't want to be put in that position. And I would advise you, gentlemen, you don't want to be put in that position either. It protects everybody on that, and it gives a sense of security to the parents and the people watching the meeting. If they watched it live, nobody can alter that video after that.
I'm just a little confused. So I understand what you're saying, but I also think too that the archive, the actual posted part is what a lot of parents go to after the meeting is over. So yes, we don't want it to be tainted, but if it's already streamed, then it should be posted right after. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Is that what we do? Okay.
As long as it was streamed and then posted,
Okay,
they
yeah.
had an opportunity to see it live where there can be no question.
Okay.
Once we take it into our archive or our file and we have custody of it, people can question that. So if we stream it in 48 hours, you want to post it or put it up, I have no problem. The parent wants to review it. I have done my diligence as a board member to provide live footage that cannot be questioned.
And my other question, or if I'm hearing you correctly, is that you said 48 hours, so if it's an emergency meeting, we wouldn't live stream, but it will have.
No.
We wouldn't?
No, I'm saying, whoever, when the meeting gets called, whoever calls it needs to understand that there may or may not be an ability to do it. They'll try to do it, but if it's only 2 days from now and they just can't get Nick because he had no notice.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Then you may be told, look, we can't find Nick, we're not going to be able to stream it.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Ms. Brown, my concern is there happens to be an awful lot of emergency meetings in Bridgeport and special meetings that the public is not entitled to speak at, that people don't really pay close attention to. So my objective here is to eliminate any skepticism from the public of what's going on in a special meeting. So if all of a sudden there's something that somebody doesn't want brought to the light, oh my God, it's an emergency, we got to do it, and we can't videotape it, you can't speak, and the public is left out. I'm not saying that's going to happen or it does happen. I just want to prevent it from happening or giving anybody the obligation to say, this is why you did X, Y, Z. I've been in politics for 4 years now. I see the way things get done and the way games are played, and I don't want to be part of it. Thank you.
One second. My concern is that, staff is going to potentially get in trouble because they didn't have the ability to live stream a meeting because it was called so last minute and they scrambled, they just couldn't put it together, and now they're going to get in trouble because of that.
Well,
I don't want to see that happen either.
If that is the concern, maybe that's a staffing issue. Is that part of the job requirement to do your job? I mean, these teachers show up in inclement weather and go through hell and high water to get to their classrooms. You're telling me our IT department can't rise with less than 20? It's technology. I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but it's like you hit a button. So all the soup principals, the custodians, the security officers, the teachers, the cafeteria, everybody else is held to a high standard in this education department, and they fulfill it. And yet now all of a sudden our IT department can't do anything without 48 hours or 24 hours notice. They should be there like that. They're IT. You can't wait for IT. You need IT. Your blackboard's down or your whiteboard's down. You need IT. So to hear that we're worried about 48 hours, IT department, you got the wrong board member, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Collier.
Yeah, if I might offer a suggestion. I had a lot of the same concerns Mr. Taylor does, and a lot of the same concerns you did with the calling the meetings, and definitely, if we don't have IT and there's a meeting called, we can't call that meeting without violating the bylaws. The work might need to be done, because we're changing the bylaw right now to have this here, right?
We're talking about.
Right, yeah. So how about if a meeting cannot be live streamed or done in this manner,
Then it won't be called.
No, we do it, we go remote. Because the superintendent's staff has the ability to live stream us remote, as we did through the whole COVID pandemic. So if we just add that to it, that would, I think, satisfy all concerns of everybody here.
This way.
That satisfies me, Chairman.
So you're saying that if they don't have the ability to live stream in a meeting room for a staffing issue, that the meeting will be called remote?
Yes.
I think this really is only if it comes down to a special meeting.
Well, no, because we have committee meetings.
Right, but
We have
what I was going to
committee
say,
meetings that
as
get
a
called.
as a committee chair, you should be able to call your meeting far enough in advance. There is no emergency meeting necessary for the students and families or ad hoc committee or governance. If you don't know within a week, I'm going to call a meeting next week, that's just common courtesy for the members of the committee and the staff. And Nick does this pro bono. We had that conversation at the end.
I think you should address that as a separate issue.
Correct.
Staffing level. The remote. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. This was only a first read. I'm going to,
Mr. Chair.
you had something else?
Yes, Mr. Tatsani, how many people in the IT department work right now?
11, I believe, total with the academic support team, but not everyone has the capability of running this live stream. And that's, you know, other folks are not, they have union contracts, they have other things that, but it's not an issue. We have a remote option that we can do.
That's what I'm saying. This seems to
Because
solve the issue.
if it's an emergency, maybe not everyone can be there, including Board of Ed members. We're sitting here with 5 Board of Ed members on a regular scheduled meeting day, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, through you to rebuttal to the superintendent, I just had one of our dedicated security officers come out here and tell me about how to run the system. So we have a security officer who's a security officer, not an IT guy, telling us how to run the system. So obviously, he's very capable of running the system. So anything you guys have just said is completely moot. So
we've come to a workaround.
Okay, I like
I think that
Brown's
works.
idea, that's great.
So I'll modify this. Again, this is only a first read. That's why we do it as a first and second, so that we get this kind of input. So I'll modify this to include that, and we'll bring it back at the next meeting. Okay? Okay. Next on the agenda, just in time, discussion and possible approval of collective bargaining agreement between the Bridgeport Board of Education and the Bridgeport Council of Administrators and Supervisors. I believe Attorney Dugas is here. There we go. And I believe a summary of the contract was emailed to everybody today.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, is there anybody here to represent the BCAS?
I don't believe so, but this is, they approved this on
They
their
did.
side. They
There's
did.
nobody here to wait commenting on their end. We're not going to hear it straight from their mouth that they were happy with it.
They sent an email that said they approved it,
Okay.
which is why he's here. So now
Excellent.
it's our turn. Okay, Attorney Dugas. Is his mic on? We got this thing now.
There we go. Does anybody need a summary? I had sent it around earlier. I have copies if anybody needs one.
Okay. I don't need one.
Okay, so very briefly, we settled the contract with the Bridgeport Council of School Administrators and Supervisors, otherwise known as BCAS. As you all know, that includes the principals, the directors, supervisors who are certified. The contract is for a period beginning July 1 of 2022, and it goes for 4 years. Essentially, the terms of the agreement provides for a 2% general wage increase to the top step of the salary scale. And then anybody who is not at the top step advances a step on the salary scale. So if you're a 2, you'd move to 3. That would be your increase until you got to the top step, and then you got the 2%. You get the 2% general wage increase. I've given you the total cost of those in the summary that I distributed. On health insurance, currently the BCAS members pay either 27% of the cost of health insurance or 29%, depending on whether they were hired before or after 2014. We hold it at that number for the first year of the contract, and then each year thereafter it goes up by 0.5%, topping out at 28.5 and 30.5%, which is for the public sector is on the higher side, not inconsistent with other City of Bridgeport contracts, but certainly on the high side. One of the other changes we made in health insurance, currently they pay 15% of the cost of dental, and we've changed that so they'll make the same contribution that they make for medical, the 27 or 29% and so forth. So the district will reap some savings in that regard. There were a few what I'll call language changes, one of which was a proposal that the superintendent had put forth. I'll let him speak for himself if he wishes, but basically it was to define more clearly the period of time in the summer where administrators had to be around and when they could take vacation, so that if he needed to get a hold of somebody, he needed to pull together elementary principals or whatever it was, he had a period of time where he knew where they were, and also providing certainty to the public and to teachers if they needed to reach out. So that was a specific modification that the superintendent sought to have a better dialogue and management of his staff. There's also a provision which is common in collective bargaining agreements that says if you get injured, in addition to workers' comp, the school district will pay you the difference, make you whole.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, point of clarification. I apologize, Mr. Dugas. I
Sure.
wanted to stop. This is a discussion and possible approval of the is it your position that you said BCAS is in agreement to approve it? Is it the superintendent's will that this is a good contract for the Board of Education?
I think it's a good contract.
You're in agreement to it? Well, so we're not here to renegotiate the contract. We're just here to prove it. I call the question. Let's approve the contract. I make a motion to approve the contract and get Attorney Dugas out of here if we're not going to negotiate the terms. This should all have been done in committee. This is an approval. I call the question. I make a motion to. Well, I call the question, so let's have a vote and see if we're going to move on, because I have to get going. If I leave, it breaks the quorum.
Let me-
So, yep,
Yeah,
two choices.
That's the point. Do you have a whole lot more to say?
No, the only other thing I would add is that we just added clarity. Right now, the contract language was we would pay the difference and then proportionately charge them for sick time. We've just made it clear that they'll be charged a third of a day. And then the only other change was we increased their bereavement allotment from 3 days to 5, but also clarified, old language was anybody in the household, and we've clarified and limited that to spouse, child, in-laws, et cetera. So that's really it in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Scala, you got a question?
Yes. How did we come to the 2% number? Is that all they wanted, or did they ask for more?
Well, like any other negotiation, they asked for more. We landed there, frankly, that 2% with the cost of STEP was in the ballpark of where other administrator contracts were settling, so that's how we.
Are we now on parity with other districts around the system for our administrative fees?
I believe you are.
Yeah, especially those that are in the group 4, the 10-month assistant principals. The disparity between their starting pay and the top step of a teacher was very limited. At the end of the 4 years, they will get a sizable increase and really separate themselves from the teacher's top step.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And to point out something to Mr. Taylor, you are correct, this is political. I just wanted to point out how negotiations are supposed to happen. Nobody just drops a large number on the board.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second by Ms. Brown, moved by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Taylor, I'm going to miss you. You make things very